Hello and welcome to what we trust will be an insightful and thought-provoking discussion designed to encourage you to consider what impact disaster might have on your business and certainly to businesses across the city of Moreton Bay. My name is Kim Skubris and I'm delighted to be your host, joined by four wonderful hearts driving very different businesses across the city of Moreton Bay and our fabulous expert as well to give his wonderful advice. We know Queensland is the most disaster-prone state in Australia. In fact, there's been more than 90 natural disasters in the past decade alone, and we know that this can have some incredible impacts on cash flow, operations, the mental health and well-being of you and your family and team that works with you and puts their passion and heart into what you do, not to mention brand and reputation. And today we're going to take City of Moreton Bay's resource, how to disaster-proof your business, and actually bring it to life as a shed then with some incredible stories. I'm now joined by CEO of Elexon Electronics, Frank Faller, who's from the Brendale-based business that's built on a passion of innovation, design and development. Next to Frank is gorgeous Amanda Jakes, who's the co-founder and managing director of an event that's very, very close to my heart, needs no introduction for Queenslanders, the Woodford Folks Festival, Woodfordia Incorporated. Welcome, Amanda. Oh, mamma mia. Next to Amanda, we have Marco, gorgeous Marco Fargnoli with his lovely wife, Andrea, and children, Francesca, Gian and Pascal. They run the Basil Vine restaurant. And last but not least from our business operators today is the lovely Sarah Heath. Sarah runs the second generation family farm, Basilea Living Herbs and Edible Flowers, that's been servicing the Moreton Bay, Brisbane and Sunshine Coast region for more than 20 years. I welcome you all. I know you're all busy people, so thank you for your time. And adding his expert advice and through the lens that we know him well for, Dr. Wayne Graham, who's Senior Lecturer in Management in the School of Business and Creative Industries at Uni SC. Really welcome you, Dr. Graham. Thank you so much for your time. City of Moreton Bay is not immune to floods. In fact, we have floods quite a bit. But in 2022, we had a dreadful flood event, Marco, and while your restaurant wasn't directly impacted, you played a very, very important part in that flood. Would you like to share a little bit how your restaurant played that part?
Yeah, well, obviously, when the alerts go out on the alert systems, you start to look at what's going on. You start to monitor the flood level sensors that you can log into online and understand where's the rain really falling, where the flood level's rising, and is that going to impact our part of our business. We're pretty much surrounded by creeks all around us, so we know that there comes a level where you can't get out or you can't get in after a certain time frame. So over the years we've learned what that is, even though the councils have put and invested a lot of money in putting banks in place, etc., to try and prevent the flooding from hitting commercial properties. But the interesting thing on this particular time was that customers were encouraged to leave. So, hey, the flood levels are rising and it looks like they're still going to rise. So we had all of our preparedness in place, and the younger staff were sort of trying to encourage them to move on. They're like, no, we're having too much fun drinking.
So they're enjoying your food too much. That was the issue, was it? Yeah.
That's right. So by the time they did leave, when we closed in the afternoon, they were flooded in, so they had to come back. So we reopened up and made them feel comfortable and got some hot chocolates out and made them feel relaxed and said, okay, look, let's just bunker down and monitor and see what's going on. And everybody was on their phones and trying to communicate and all that sort of thing.
So how long were you in that holding pattern for?
I think they were nearly there all up 8 hours. The initial part was about 4, and then we could see things were going to abate, so we didn't have to instigate any further plans like going up a level or anything like that.
But the important thing is you had those in place in case something had escalated.
Yes, so we partly had it in place, partly it was just the innovation of the kids. They develop those practices over time. They learn that you've got to think of the customers first, and in so doing, when you're thinking of other people, you start to think, well, how does that impact others beyond them? And you can put things in place to help.
Sarah, we've just heard from Marco how a major weather event impacted his business. You're out in the elements more so than ever. How does it impact yours?
Constantly. We feel every bit of weather, whether it be the rain or the extreme heat. It is a constant, and so therefore we can experience damages of complete and utter loss, and that is loss from little seedlings all the way up to what would have gone out to shop.
So obviously planning is key for you.
Planning is very much key. We do need to know that when we do lose a whole heap of stock, which is from different generations, what can we sow really quickly to make sure that we've got stock up ready to go. All of those policies and procedures in place, and now all of our team members know what to do when.
Well, certainly someone who knows what it's like. Sarah was saying, you know, you can lose an entire crop in a weather event, but someone who knows what it's like to lose their whole business. Frank, that fateful night on the 12th of August, 2023, unimaginable, but it happened, didn't it?
It did. And I certainly won't forget this phone call at 2 o'clock on a Saturday morning, turning life upside down. And it was Peter, the MD of the business, who was at the other end and saying, Frank, I've got bad news. The factory is in flames. And I remember asking, what happened? And he told me that he was informed by the security company because motion sensors triggered, and he saw a spot fire on the camera. So with the spot fire in mind, I drove off hoping it would be a spot fire. But then when I reached the top of Cramso Road in Brendale, overlooking the industrial estate, and I saw this huge orange fireball, I knew, no, it wasn't a spot fire anymore, it was big. It was really big. So there were 17 fire engines. I still could hear lithium batteries popping. There was a smell in the air, broken glass everywhere. It was quite impressive for a neutral bystander. You know, the big operations center with touch screen, where our laptop was connected to and downloaded drawings to inform the fireys where the server room was, solar panels, etc. But here it was. The work that we have put in to set up this business, where we put Elexon Electronics on the map of advanced manufacturing with equipment worth millions, all going up in flames.
So just to put in perspective, we're talking it was gone. You know, we see those big factory fires on the news and nothing is left. Is that pretty much what happened?
That's correct. So of course I had the hope. I thought, oh, maybe it's localized, and I spoke to the fireys and they said, no, mate, it's all gone. It's all gone. But thankfully, the fire brigade from Eaton Hill did an amazing job and stopped the fire spreading into the warehouse. So while the factory was destroyed, all the machines, the raw material survived.
Absolute lifesaver. We'll look at later on just how much, because your recovery has been equally, if not more extraordinary than the exit incident. So I would love to have a chat to you more about that in a moment. Amanda, the Woodford Folk Festival, as said, just an iconic event, as they're close to my heart. What are the considerations you take into account when you have hundreds of thousands of people converge on that beautiful part of the world?
Well, there's a lot to do with the planning and preparation for any number of situations that could happen. So Woodford Folk Festival is a large village as it's operating, and when it's in full flight, it's actually the third largest city within the city of Moreton Bay. So it's a huge responsibility welcoming thousands, 40,000 people to come to your land to celebrate. But you need to have all of the procedures in place that you would with a municipal service to be able to make sure that you're ready for any outcome that could eventuate. So the risk planning and assessment and mitigation is huge.
You're nodding away there, Wayne. You're an expert at UniSC, and having designed UniSC's continuity planning course, in your mind, what are some of the key disasters that businesses and agencies should be preparing for in City of Moreton Bay?
Yeah, thanks, Kim. So all the examples that we've heard so far, you know, whether it be a flood, a fire, a storm, a heat wave, All of these events, forces of nature, if you like, that we need to be prepared for. And what we've heard so far is some commonalities in each of these examples. And it's all the P's, it's planning, it's procedures, it's policies, it's protocols. These are things that we can do. We can't stop the events, but we can plan and we can develop policy, we can develop procedures, and we can test them and we can rehearse them. And I know that might not be seen as highly productive activity for businesses, especially small businesses. But it's vital that we do so, because continuity, or being able to continue business operations, is as important as increasing profitability, because the faster we can return to business, the faster we can return to our business model, therefore our revenue models, and we can resume trading. And that helps not only the business, but our customers, our stakeholders.
And a resource like this from City of Moreton Bay, I guess the hope is it'll help business operators to stop for a moment, encourage them and inspire them to stop and actually go through the checklist. Because that's the other thing too, you're all busy. We've all got our own businesses and you might think, I'll get to that, until the time comes you haven't got to it and you've got rising waters around your restaurant. Amanda, you just shared earlier about how it can be a tricky juggle, because you're considering this, suddenly you've got this amazing city pop up every year, some 40,000 to what, about 100, more than 100,000
over the 6 days.
Over the 6 days. So what sort of, we can drill down now and look at through the lens of prevention and planning, as one said, what sort of specifics do you consider, if you don't mind sharing a few of those examples?
It all also is documented within a document called an event management plan, which incorporates all your risk assessment across everything. But when you've got the people coming, one of, I think, our most important thing is communication. So a disaster can be any number of things, and it can affect individuals differently to larger groups. So one of the most important things I think we have is a safety and security hotline that everyone has on their festival bracelet, and that is that's staffed 24/7 during the festival, and all the inquiries or all of the issues that are brought to that go through that centre and then are triaged out to all of our different services at the festival, whether it's fire first response, whether it's our medical centres, which we have 3 of, whether it's a security issue, whether it's a police issue, whether it's an infrastructure issue, plumbing, water, sewerage, everything. Within those responses, we obviously have standing operated procedures for any number of responses that are documented, and each festival you will review those and you'll add to them, and hopefully you'll have more resources to bring to that.
Obviously, Amanda's talking about communication on a broader sense, and also outwardly as well to the visitors. The tens of thousands of visitors come to Woodford. But internally, Marco, when we consider your event and you looking at, say, dare I say, a more controlled emergency, how important is it at Basil and Vine that you bring your team on board? You referred to some of the young staff members. For some of them, I imagine it'd be a bit of a deer in the headlights moment to suddenly see rising waters outside the window of the restaurant.
Well, luckily it wasn't the windows, otherwise we would have been under. But
Right.
yes.
Okay.
But I know what you mean. And I think the good thing is we try and foster a culture of familia, so the broader family, and a lot of them come in not knowing much, and then very quickly with, as you're saying, policies in place and procedures and standard operating procedures, you train them up, and it's how they see you do stuff that often speaks louder than you sitting them down and going through these training programs. Is that reinforcing it through drills, right? Through them seeing it. Whenever there's a problem in the actual business, you're going, okay, what's the process here? And it's about making sure that's communicated to them and making them think through, what would you do if a customer does this, what would happen there? So it was a natural progression to most of them, that, okay, we've got a problem here, how do we solve it? How do we look at it from an innovative way? How do we keep our customers happy? How do we do those sort of things? And naturally, they did the right things. They phoned us, they phoned the relevant people. Like you said, you've got an emergency centre. So they phoned the right people, they got advice, but they also thought up their own creative ways. Like, I didn't say go make hot chocolate, but they did that. And
it's that community spirit, which City of Moreton Bay is well known for.
Lift that spirit up,
Yeah.
make sure that people are not fearful, make sure that they are calm, and that they are focusing on a solution rather than the problem. and then work together.
You resonate with that, Sarah? I mean, your family-run business has grown from having, more like a hobby farm, open days on Saturdays, to hundreds of people at any one time over, what, a 4-hour period. What sort of processes have you had to look at now as you've had more and more visitors and you're becoming ever so popular?
Well, firstly, I needed to know what the local laws allowed me to do, finding out what the regulations were, and finding out all of those wonderful things that the City of Moreton Bay Council does actually provide for small business. We know how to grow and we know how to deal with our customers, but what we didn't necessarily get was a lot of that learning to be able to develop better policies. We now have lots of people coming to our open days, which means that we do actually have to have parking attendants, making sure that there is a safe way for our customers to actually enter.
For you, Frank, with your factory and holding lithium batteries, what do you think was critical to your consideration of how you would react to an emergency, and then you had a remarkable recovery? What was behind that really solid recovery that you had in an incredibly quick time?
I mean, Elexon Electronics, we are defense and aerospace certified business, so we thought we had all boxes ticked, all policies, procedures, staff training in place, also risk assessments to deal with storage of chemicals, dealing with high temperature processes, manufacturing processes, and of course dealing with lithium batteries. So we test every lithium battery, like the electrical value, and where it fails, that could be an indicator that there's an internal short, which then leads to thermal runaway and eventually to fire. So we had what we thought were fireproof storage containers, and as it turns out, they were not fireproof. So what this shows us is we put a lot of effort into prevention, but in case it cannot be prevented 100%, we need to plan for business continuity and disaster recovery, which we did. And like 2 aspects are, I would say, that the email is cloud-based, because as we heard here on the panel already, communication is number 1, 2, and 3. And for a business such as Elexon Electronics, having access to the data, like in our ERP system, is vital. Without the data, with all the drawings and history and product configuration, etc., we wouldn't be able to survive. So it's important to have regular backups and have the backups stored either in the cloud or in a secure location. And maybe one other point to mention for Elexon, one of our core values is that we play well with others. So we have competitors, but we always call them our friendly competitors.
So they allowed you in their sand pit while you rebuilt again? Were you able to go over?
Exactly, because it was a result of collaboration over many years. We have helped each other for many years. We have built up a network of suppliers over many years, both in Australia and internationally, that now came to fruition, because some of the equipment that we needed, manufacturing equipment, normally would take 10 to 12 months to receive, because it comes from all corners of the globe. In our case, we were able to start up production after 6 weeks again.
Amazing.
So this really proved to be a big advantage. Yeah.
And Wayne, it's obviously impossible to predict. We could almost say it's not a case of if but when, but what are the factors that we can definitely put in play in City of Moreton Bay and the type of businesses and the nature of the region, the topography, where we sit, our wet seasons, our possible drought, etc. What sort of aspects of this should we be considering when we're doing our planning in the City of Moreton Bay?
Yeah, so awareness is paramount. It's absolutely critical that we are aware of the environment that we work and play in. Embrace risk. What I mean by that is just start developing a list. In fact, I called it a laundry list. In other words, there's no limits. Just keep thinking about, well, if a storm came, what could happen? So we know that some storms, there's dry lightning events, so that could then start a fire. So now you've got a fire as well as a storm. You then start to think, all right, so the next step, following the steps of a continuity plan, is, well, how can I mitigate that? But what's the impact of that? So an impact of a fire, it's catastrophic. And so the level of risk then for that particular example is severe. That should be our priority. So we just work through the stages of a continuity plan. The next one is, once we've identified the risk, once we've identified the likelihood and the impact, therefore the level of the risk, we then start to mitigate.
From a more clinical perspective, Amanda, you have got an incident response plan. Any big event, any huge event will have one. Would you mind just going through some of the nuts and bolts of that?
Well, for example, if we look within the festival precinct, if we're responding to something that might be a medical emergency or infrastructure failure within a venue, it's communicating where the actual emergency meeting point is for actually the external agencies to meet to be able to work with this, and what the modes of communication are. There's a number of different modes of communication, everything from SMSs to emails to MC announcements to everything, depending on what the emergency is. We obviously then would be tasking the different units that would be engaged to respond to that. And you would have somebody assessing that all the time, and then you would have a level of when it gets different levels of alert of when other agencies are brought in, or whether it's now instigating external communications. And you'd also have somebody at the incident at all times actually feeding back to those people that are away from the incident. We also have, depending on the scale of the incident, an area that we can go to actually separate if we need to move the management of the incident outside of the festival precinct. Communication is very much a big part of it, because we have, when you think of it, we have a team of about 2,700 volunteers, and all of those people can be involved to help. There's fortunately some things, a lot that you can mitigate against because of the closed loop nature of what we've got on site. When you go through all of the responses, and as you say, you do put everything down, and in event management it gives you peace of mind to be able to confidently go into the event and to be able to enjoy the event, knowing that if we've got to do this, we're all aware of what we've got to do. A number of events would say, can we see what your incident management plan and event management plan is? And we're always welcome to share it, but I really say it like, do not take on board somebody else's plan. You need to have built that from the ground up.
I was going to say, it's almost doing your own homework. To Sarah's point, find out the agencies, whether it's a local government body or it's, as you say, an emergency agency, and find out from them. Frank, you know this, you dived right in the deep end with disaster, that factory fire. Those first few hours, pushing through the shock and actually coming to terms with what was happening. Amanda was sharing about working with neighbours, whether it's Queensland Parks and Wildlife or neighbours in the industrial area where you might be and the neighbours there. What sort of processes did you suddenly have to instigate and put into action when the worst thing that could imaginable happened?
So remember that the day at the fire, I think at around 6 o'clock, I went home to have a little break before coming back for a war room meeting at 10 o'clock, which was in one of our sister companies, which was just across the road. Some of our competitors and partners already reached out with tips what to do after a fire, because they went through a fire incident themselves. They said, whatever you do, get in as fast as you can, because what's not been taken by the fire will be destroyed by the corrosive atmosphere. So something we took on board to work closely with the insurance, which is, by the way, a very important topic with the insurance company and the fire investigation unit. But everything was captured on CCTV, so after 2 days we had indeed access. But then coming back to the planning, as we all agree, communication is left, right and center the most important issue to deal with, because you can imagine there's a factory fire. The factory has burned down. So the staff see their workplace gone up in flames.
It's dreadful.
Yeah. The customers see it. Oh my goodness, Elexon factory has burned down. So there's a lot of uncertainty. I think goal number one with the communication is to provide some level of certainty in a time of uncertainty. We decided, like, straight away, our MD, Peter, he sent out an email the same morning to everybody. We went right on the front foot to inform our customers, because we were already determined. We knew that we were able to continue the business. that we had a plan, so we communicated this plan.
That's amazing. Even on that morning, you had that peace of mind. You could continue. That really shows the value of the planning. So Frank's talking about rising from the ashes. Sarah, what about for you, who you experienced this amazing growth? How are you managing that? What sort of considerations are you having to take on when you're mitigating risk and considering processes for, dare I say, if a disaster happens?
I'm finding that I am working less in my business and more on my business. The first thing, I have to remove myself from anything that I do plan to make sure that my team are well involved. If I'm keeping everything to myself, then the communication's not going ahead. I really do need to make sure that planning, and it's not productive, it's not money making, and it's really hard for small business, home-based business to be able to do. But it's really important.
Wayne, it is so important that, as Sarah said, when we're working on our business, to look at the recovery phase as much as we look at the potential for disaster.
So again, part of that overall business continuity plan is a business impact analysis. So you look at your business model, you think, what are the critical business activities that we do in order to produce a product, produce a service, derive an income into the business? So the different business models represented here, for example, Sarah's, is to grow produce, to enable customers to enjoy that beautiful flavours of herbs and edible flowers. So if any part of that business model is impacted by an event, a disaster, then recovery is going to be different. So we have to think about different components or sections of the business model and treat them differently, because our recovery will be different.
And of course, to that, Frank, you had a number of you, including yourself, who were responsible. No less a few hours after in fact, the fire was probably still smouldering when you were suddenly at your sister company across the road. Your manager had sent out the email. So you were putting in place already those recovery steps. Moving forward, when did you start production? How long did it take? You said 6 weeks, was it? It's such a credit to you and the culture you've obviously built with your business. If there was something you could share that you may wish you'd known then that you know now through this experience, for business operators watching this, and dare I say, hopefully you'll never need it, what would you share that you wish you'd known then that you know now?
So one thing that we did when we moved into our new facility drastically changed the way we deal with lithium batteries. Mm-hmm. We organized a shipping container that's 24/7 refrigerated, modified it in a way that there are roller doors for easy access, and then stored all our lithium batteries outside in the container to make sure that this will never happen again.
Some really solid practical operational considerations. How important were stand-ups in that recovery, and also the benefits that flowed from that as well?
Yeah, so it's super important during the recovery phase to look after the staff, after the team, and what's really important is to make sure that everybody is well informed. While you're in the bubble of the recovery process, one might think, oh, everybody knows what's going on, but that's not the case. And if there's some uncertainty, that's not helpful. So what we did is we introduced a weekly stand-up where the entire business came together, and I stood up to give a presentation, what has happened last week, to show them, look, that's what we all together have achieved, something really to be proud of, and that's the plan for next week. Despite these really challenging times, we could sense that there was a very healthy team culture, and as a result, we didn't lose a single staff member, which is super important, especially for a specialized business such as Elexon Electronics.
And as you said, building that team culture every week like that, I guess it would have been an important opportunity for you to tap in with everyone and just see how they were going as well, because this would have been an incredible strain on mental health, people's concerns, do I have a job? Like you said, you've kept them all on, which is amazing, and they wanted to stay.
So we had two problems to solve. One, to rebuild our manufacturing capabilities. So we had to find a temporary solution where we put in a tent, like a big party tent, that we set fit out with air conditioning and everything else needed. And then, yeah, our supplier did amazing jobs, air freighted machines from Sweden, from Italy, took machines out of the application center, said that's not exactly the machine you need, but use this to keep you going. And in the meantime, we will build the one that you actually need.
So definitely, Frank, that well-worn defence force saying around the world, improvise, adapt, overcome. You really had to do that. You certainly had to improvise and make do and adapt, and then you overcame it.
Absolutely. You never can plan 100%. So of course, like initially we thought, all right, we outsource the production until we're ready, and then realized, no, let's take destiny in our own hands. And even though I would say we run on 3 cylinders in this tent, but we did it ourselves. We passed a quality audit in the tent. We passed the first article inspection, like a prototype for a defense customer in the tent. You know? So
I think it's a source of pride. It's a credit to all of you, and I'm so thrilled to hear your stories. We've certainly been looking through the lens of the business continuity plan and considering these 4 considerations: prevention, preparedness, response and recovery. But I would really appreciate your last couple of tips for everybody that's watching this. I might start with you, Frank.
So one tip, and that's an area we haven't really covered a lot, is to make sure that the insurance is right. Because at the time you see the water coming in or the fire coming through the roof, that's not the moment to find out that you're uninsured. So my tip is really review, update insurance policy and seek advice wherever possible.
I think also being open to getting advice and help from people just across the board. Don't be protective about what you're doing in this space. Be open and transparent about it, and there's any number of help out there.
If I was to sum it up, it would be, in God I trust, in the process I follow, and in the people I bring along that journey when it comes to this sort of stuff. So the council's put together some amazing process information.
Like Nonna's recipe for lasagna that which is teaching you. No, it is. It really literally is like it's a recipe to maybe say disaster proof. Sarah, what would your advice be to wrap up?
I think small business needs to think big. You might be working at home, you might be working on your passion, but that doesn't mean that you can't go out there and seek what could be very beneficial for the growth of your business. Connect with the local government, find out what's out there for you, apply for the grants. You might not get the grants, but the process along the way will be invaluable to the growth of the business.
Fantastic, because there are so many resources out there, aren't there, and opportunities if you go out there. Issue is time, so managing and I guess allocating that time to work. I love what you said earlier, work on your business, not in your business. Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Sarah. Wayne.
Start now, start today. The City of Moreton Bay have these incredible resources, many of which point to the resources that the Queensland Government have put together on the Business Queensland website. They have a template there available. A good continuity plan with all the components we've discussed today should end up about 40 pages long. But the good news is Business Queensland website has already taken care of the first 30 pages. So we can access all of this information for free. Small businesses are very busy and they're doing lots of things, juggling lots of balls. But imagine if they could just do 20 minutes or 30 minutes a week within a few short weeks that have a plan together that they could then start rehearsing, testing, and therefore be, as you say, disaster proof, or at the very least, disaster ready.
Wayne, thank you so much, and thank you to Sarah, to Marco, to Amanda and to Frank. As Wayne said, you're all busy, which is a good thing, but we so value your time and we really appreciate you giving of your time and expertise today, sharing your stories, sharing your insights, and I'm sure everyone that's watching this will certainly learn a thing or two. I certainly have as well. And it's all summed up here in this resource from the City of Moreton Bay, the Disaster Proof Your Business. And we also encourage you to register for the Moreton Alert, which will give you a heads up of incidents. You can also go to the City of Moreton Bay website, and we would like you to consider downloading the State Government Small Business Disaster Hub app. So thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck. We wish you all the success and happiness for the next chapters of your stories, both professionally and personally. Thank you for joining us.